So the latest chapter of regular Ragnarok it focused on Apollo as his fighting style, his divine weapon, and how he's just dominating throughout this whole fight as he's fighting against Leonidas. Because in the chapter, it started off as the sun god Apollo has a wonderful divine weapon. It is known as the thread of Artemis. At time, it became a harp that plays a catalyst melody. At times, it became an indestructible shield that can stood upon even giants, and at times it became a beam of light that is able to pierce a colossal rock. And here we see the divine weapon was able to wrap around his hands, as it seems that if that is going to be like a huge pair of gloves, which we learned that Apollo's fighting style is a boxer, and he's actually the boxing champ in the whole Greek mythology. Because in Greek mythology, apparently Apollo was him, and that he was able to defeat Greek gods like the war god of Ares. So it does make sense the name and the references of Apollo in the Rocky movies, because now it makes totally 100% sense. So if you guys watch the Rocky and Creed movies, you know what I mean. But I do like how the chapter is started off by giving the backstory of his divine weapons, and how it just goes through everything from like his arrow to his harp, his musical instruments, through everything. And so it does give us a more understanding and like an introduction on like why the thread was more important than what we knew normally thought it would be, because we thought it was going to be an arrow. Now with Leonidas and his shield, that's an interesting term because we thought that it would be a spear. But throughout this chapter, it focused on the present of this fight. We didn't go more into the backstory of Apollo. We focused more on the battle between Apollo versus Leonidas. So throughout this whole fight, we see the power of Leonidas when he was able to land a hit against Apollo. But that was just all an illusion, because we later find out in the next couple of pages that Leonidas didn't actually hit Apollo, because Apollo, he was adjusting himself in midair, and then there everyone was shocked to see that. So Leonidas, he's pissed off, so he continued on throwing the attacks. And Goal, she's just wondering like, how is Apollo is able to continuously dodging every single attack that Leonidas is throwing at him, even though he got hit by his last attack. And then there, Brihilda is advising Gold that it is the power of his divine weapon, the thread of Artemis, because the thread is the light that spuns from the light energy that is created by the son of Apollo. Even though it might seem like it was a direct hit, it appears that he was able to deflect the attack and he was able to defend it, because we see a demonstration that Apollo, he was able to use the thread to stop the shield from hitting him, and he was able to like pretend that he got hit, fooling everyone. And the thread of Artemis is both a weapon and a shield. It is a very versatile weapon. And so, of course, we see the thread that is coming out of his fingertips. And so, when the thread is coming out of his fingertips, Apollo said this is his true power, and we were able to see him form these gauntlets. Now, it does make total sense, because the thread is what he used for his harps, the thread is what he used for his shield, and the thread is what he used to make the string for his bow and arrow. So, of course, when he made this thread and was able to make his gauntlet, he was ready to throw hands against Leonidas, as the rest of the god sections are cheering him on. And of course, Apollo is loving this. So Leonidas, he's trying to think of a strategy on how to actually land a hit against Apollo and go against his threads. So of course, Apollo, he goes on ahead and tries to do like a short attack, like a short combo attack, as he's just continuously moving forward, because he's not going to try to do like this long range attack. So he's trying to get closer to Apollo. And then, so as soon as he's going close to range, we see a barrage of him like just throwing multiple shields, and some of them looks like an illusion. But suddenly, Leonidas, his shields were not hitting Apollo, because Apollo, he changed his fighting styles and fighting tactics to go on ahead and dodge every single one of the attacks. And we see the speed of Apollo increase and continue going more and more and more. And as it seems as expected, we see that Zeus is calling him a very much of an expert of the god of boxing. And we can see how his fighting style actually does change because he is moving like a boxer as he's continuously dodging every single attack that Leonidas is throwing at him. No matter how hard Leonidas just keeps continuously swinging and swinging and swinging, Apollo just keeps on dodging because his speed and his agility is just way too much and way too fast for Leonidas. So as soon as Leonidas threw one last attack, we see Apollo shows up right on the side of him, and he was able to punch the hell out of Leonidas as it was a straight, clean shot. But then Leonidas, as he stumbled, he was able to make one of his legs get in contact with the chain that's attached to his shield and was trying to swing at Apollo, but Apollo was able to dodge it, as Apollo says that you're surprisingly tough for a human. But Leonidas says, how about being humble for a bit more? And then he says, you damn arrogant god, as he charged towards Apollo, but Apollo was able to dodge it and continuously saying quick remarks. As we see Apollo, he continuously just whooping Leonidas' ass as he was able to land hits after hits after hits. And as Leonidas, he just continuously keeps throwing his shield, but it leaves him opening, and we continuously seeing strike after strike after strike. As Apollo, he says that floating like a butterfly stings like a bee. This is the god of boxing, as Apollo is just going all over Leonidas, and Leonidas just continuously getting punched from every single direction, from the east, west, north, south, just anywhere that you can name of. As we see that the humanity sides, as Leonidas, they're all in shock to see that their king is being defeated and being punched, and they're trying to cheer up Leonidas so that way he can try to actually land a hit. So Apollo just stopped attacking Leonidas, and then he used the thread to actually make a mark on the arena on the ground, which is like this huge, giant, narrow line. And then he says that the arena is way too big. So he's just like, this size will be enough for you and me, which actually pissed off Leonidas. And Leonidas is like, what are you planning? As all the gods are pretty much dumbfounded, but the humanities, they're just in shock. Of course, we see that Leonidas, he's trying to figure out what Apollo is planning, but it seems as if that Apollo just kind of just wants a fight where they can just go straight at each other in the narrow line. So like the battle will be fighting in between this narrow line. And then the chapter just ends as Apollo says that he is the sun god, the Lord Apollo. And the chapter just ends. And it just seems as if that this chapter was just heavily dedicated to Apollo. It just showcased his fighting style, his fighting technique, and his divine weapon. And it looks like he's going to be a bit of a challenge towards Leonidas. But let me know down in the comment section how you guys feel about this chapter, what you guys think, process, or anything. And if you guys do like the video, please give it a like, subscribe, and remember, always be decent as the monotone man. And hope you guys have a wonderful day and be safe out here. Peace.